microphone because I have to lean close to it for you to hear me. Well, let me go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank you for attending our February meeting. I think we need to enlarge our council chambers now. We have a lot of visitors and appreciate you being here. Would you join me stand and pledge allegiance to our flag? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we need to approve our agenda. Eric, we are making changes to it.
Yes, sir. New agendas are at the stations. We will be removing the item under old business, which is the second reading of the Lloyd annexation petition, has been withdrawn by the applicant. Under new business, we're removing consider application for rezoning, again withdrawn by the applicant. Also removing under new business, consider appeal of staff decision for total number of lots at the Cowart Heights subdivision. That has been removed by staff pending a complete set of plans being submitted. The plans were not satisfactory to be able to make a decision from. Item number 4 under new business, to add consider resolution for temporary moratorium on building and development permits.
Okay, that's on the latest agenda. Okay, with those changes that we need, could I have a motion to approve that updated agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Vicki.
Second.
Second by Chris. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. See Lee now. I didn't see you come in, Lee. At this time, we'll go to public comments concerning items on the agenda, and we have.
First thing, sir, will be Mr. Bentz.
I'm sorry. Before we do that, we do have. I need to call on our accountant, James from Malden & Jenkins. Ask you to address us. He has. They have finished our audit for our last fiscal year, and I think we did pretty well.
Thank you, Mayor Roberts. Really good to see the turnout for the audit presentation. Love to see the interest in that. So, well, thank you all.
You're limited to an hour. Okay.
Okay. I think I can get it in that. So. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is James Bentz. I'm with Malden & Jenkins, and I was the engagement partner for the city's June 30, 2021 financial audit. I believe you have 2 documents from us. One is your annual comprehensive financial report, which is the heftier document, and then you have our auditor's discussion and analysis. This is just our presentation of information on the report. I'm not going to read every page to you, but going to flip through and kind of hit the highlights. Certainly with any questions along the way, please feel free to interrupt and I'll be happy to answer them. So starting with page 2, just a little bit of information. I know we've got a few new faces. We didn't actually do a presentation last year because of the pandemic. So it's been a couple of years since we've been here. But just to give you a little information about Malden & Jenkins, we are a large regional firm. We have offices in 5 states, and we serve governments in 7 states throughout the Southeast. Serving about, I think now we're up to about 600 governments. We have 11 partners, myself included, who spend 100% of their time working with local governments. So it is something, an industry that we focus very heavily on and we're very committed to. So just as a little bit of background, we also have, out of our 600 governments that we serve, about 139 of them actually do an annual comprehensive financial report, which we'll get into a little bit more in a minute. But that's the document you all prepare, and it is more than what the state requires from state auditing standards for you to prepare as a city. And so you all do go above and beyond, and it's, just at that level from our clients, only about 100 of the 600 clients we serve do that document. So it's something to be proud of as a city from your management team. On page 3, just to kind of point out, I served as the engagement partner. I've been with Mullen and Jenkins for 18 years now, and 100% of that time has been spent working with local governments. All of our audits have a second quality control reviewer. This year, Christopher McKellar served that role, and he's not directly involved with your audit, but he reviews the financial reports before they go out to make sure that we've included all the new reporting requirements and just make sure that there's no biased eyes on my part in the relationship. So he played that role for us this year, and that typically rotates every year on who does that for our firm. On page 4, kind of high-level results. We did issue an unmodified opinion this year, which is a clean opinion, stating that the financial statements as prepared by your management team are materially correct. We conducted our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards as well as government auditing standards, which means that we don't test 100% of the transactions. Those standards require that we issue an opinion as to whether or not they're materially correct. So we use sampling and testing of those activities, but we do not give absolute assurance on the financial statements. So that is something we always want to make sure to point out. On page 5, because you all are a governmental entity, you do require a report in accordance with government auditing standards where we're required to report any material weaknesses in your internal control systems. Happy to report again this year, as we have in the past, we did not identify any material weaknesses in your internal controls. The controls related to financial reporting were sufficient to provide materially correct financial statements. So hats off to management. We absolutely love when we're able to say that about clients, but I can assure you we are unfortunately not able to say that about everyone. We also did not have any material instances of noncompliance with statutory requirements. So again, a good comment to make when we're able to make that. I'm going to jump to page 9. And on page 9, we'll flip back and forth between here and the actual ACFR, as it's called now, for a few financial statement snapshots. So starting on page 9, we're looking at your general fund. And so for any local government, your general fund is your main operating fund. And that's really where most people will look to try to compare entity to entity. Again, because your special revenue funds can be different from each local government, but everyone operates a general fund. And so here you can kind of see for the past 5 years where our revenues and expenditures have been within those funds. And you can see you all do a good job of kind of tracking your expenditures along with your revenues. Flipping to page 10, your primary revenues that you report in the general fund, this just gives you kind of a snapshot of what they've looked like over the past 5 years. And you can see our property taxes have had a big increase over that time period. But one of the things we always want to point out is that's from growth within the city. Excuse me. So we've had about a 25% increase in the population within Ball Ground. And our assessed values here have increased as well, over 70% in the last 5 years. And so when you see the property tax dollars going up, it's important to note that that's actually been a decrease in the millage rate over that time period, but our growth within the city is bringing in additional revenues. On page 11, last page before we flip to the other document here is just a snapshot of where your expenditures of the general fund were for 2021. And you'll see very common to what you'll see in a general fund. A lot of your expenditures go to general government functions, which is kind of the administration and the running of the city, as well as public safety, which public safety is your highest slice of the pie, obviously being the police services here. Public works is a tough number when you try to compare yourself. If you want to look at the city compared to another local city, you always have to kind of keep in mind how each entity is funding their public works, their road and infrastructure. You all have a SPLOST that helps pay for that, so you don't actually have to use your general fund dollars to pay for as much of that as an entity that maybe not levying a local sales tax for the construction improvements. So with that, if you can flip in your annual comprehensive financial report, 2 pages I want to look at in here is first, if you'll look at page 26, this is your budget schedule for your general fund. Again, with this being your main operating fund, we always kind of like to look at your budget schedule. And you can see for the year, you all originally budgeted to expend about $1.3 million in the general fund. And with some influx of the CARES money and some grant money that you all had, the expenditures were actually amended up to go to 1.5, and your actual expenditures came in at 1.5, where you were under budget by $32,000. So a good year, staying in line with your budget, and you actually added $32,000 to fund balance this year in the general fund. The next page I want to look at is page 30, if you'll flip a couple of pages there. When you talk about your enterprise funds, which is your water, sewer, your solid waste, and stormwater funds, their basis of accounting is a little different than a general fund. So they actually have a cash flow statement, which looks a little bit more like your typical for-profit entity. And that's usually the best way to kind of see how your enterprise funds operated for the year. And so you'll see there across the top, your top grouping is your cash provided by operations. And so our water and sewer fund actually had a $9,000 loss from operations this year, mainly driven by increases in our operating costs. And then our solid waste and stormwater fund did have cash inflows from operations of about $40,000 and $30,000 respectively. Where you always want to look after you look at operational costs is the capital-related cash flows to see if we're reinvesting into the system through capital asset purchases or payments on long-term debt. And so you'll see with water and sewer, we had about a total of about $400,000 that we paid on our previously issued notes, as well as $300,000 of that representing capital outlays that were made during the year. So money that we did have already in the system, we're reinvesting into the system in and of itself. And then the same with stormwater. They had about $37,000 of capital assets acquired this year. And if you'll flip back to the book with me to the AD&A, page 13, we did have one item that we consider a management recommendation. Again, these are recommendations that we see. They don't rise to the level of deficiencies, but certain areas that either have a little bit of a concern from our standpoint or areas of potential improvement. And this one deals with your IT environment. Obviously, IT environment as it is today, phishing emails, hacks, all kind of risk being out there with IT systems, and governments have become a little bit of a target of the last 5 years. And so you all outsource your IT function, and our recommendation is just to have a secondary firm do a review or kind of an audit of your outsourced IT. You rely on them and you kind of hope they're doing right, but certainly you want to make sure, have some process in place to ensure that what they're doing for recovery, for prevention, detection is functioning and operating as it should be. And then on page 14, the next probably 5 or 6 pages, those are the new upcoming accounting standards. We have from statement number 87 through 97, which have been issued by GASB. These are all really fun reading for everybody who's a geek for accounting standards. And for those of you not, it'll help if you're having trouble sleeping tonight. The big takeaway here, we do as a firm, we offer continuing education on a quarterly basis to all of our clients. I know your management team does participate in that. GASB statement number 87 is the big one that most governments are talking about and kind of a little bit worried about. It's applicable for fiscal year 22, and it really just changes the concept of operating and capital leases. They're doing away with the concept and just everything becomes a lease. Anything that you have a commitment to make payments on for more than 12 months now falls under just the definition of a lease. It will probably, I don't believe it's going to have as much of an impact for you all, but it's kind of the hot topic among local governments right now, just trying to figure out how many leases we do have and that have not been on our books that now will fall on into the books as liabilities or even potentially assets if we're the lessor in those arrangements. And so that's kind of the big ticket item right now. The rest kind of span over the next 2 to 3 years on their implementation dates, but we do work with your management team to make sure we're kind of on the front end of this rather than showing up for an audit and saying, what'd you do about 87? So these are here for your information. Obviously, you all as the decision makers, it's always important for you to understand and be aware of the upcoming statements as they come out, but certainly that's management's role in ensuring compliance with those. So with that, if you all have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Anybody? Questions? James, you guys do a good job. Just to look through this document, every year you put in all these photographs that are all over the city. Is great to complement all the pages and pages of data. But we also need to point out that we expect to get the CAFRA again, which is our city has for 14 years received an award that we believe that we are the smallest city in the state to receive it. And it's because 14 years ago, we actually enhanced our audit practice. That's why he's saying that they do more than they have to do. Other small cities don't go that route, but we do. But thanks to Donna and Eric and everybody else involved in financial management here, we just do real well. And from my banking experiences, what your suggestion about IT, I dealt with that myself. So we'll be working on that to find a third party to audit our IT people, our firm. But it's just nice to not have any other audit complaints. Because again, in my experience in banking, we always got them, but it's been years since we've gotten them here. So again, I give Donna credit for that. But again, no questions or comments? Okay, James, thank you.
Thank you all.
So John Miller? Is he here?
He may not be here. I think Chris had scanned, his application. He was at the work session. He was the gentleman asking to divide the lot and allow his daughter to build next to him in Preston Manor. He's just asking for approval of that.
Okay, do we have that, act on that tonight, at this time?
Not here, but you can, yes.
Does council recall what he wanted?
Yeah.
And is it agreeable with council to approve it?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve. This is allowing him to build another house in Holcomb Manor. Okay, motion made, second by Lee. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll include that. At this time, now we will move to, am I on? We will move to public comments concerning items on the agenda. And the first I have is Brandy Hunter Reiner. Welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and I don't have a prepared statement as I wrote on the form, but I'm here to discuss the application for the new alcohol licenses. The applicants, Suraj Ali and Suraj Lalani. I first want to say I have nothing against alcohol sales. I enjoy alcohol myself, so it's not about that. It's about the location. And I think when we look at the purposes of the ordinance for our town, our lovely town, it's about the enjoyment of our town and the betterment of our town and the aesthetics of our town and the safety of our citizens as well. And I just feel strongly that that particular location at the gateway to our downtown area at the traffic light at A.W. Roberts and Highway 5372 is just not the first thing we want to see, or visitors would want to see, as you enter downtown Ball Ground, right across from the historic Welcome to Ball Ground sign. Also, we have a liquor store in very close proximity, and then we have opportunities to buy malt beverages and wine from the multiple convenience stores we have on the same road. We're all within a mile of each other. Just like it's a density situation. If we look at the precedent set by cities like Holly Springs, they deny such things based on the amount of citizens in their city. You don't want that, density of alcohol being sold within such a small area. So That's just my opinion. And I saw the license application the other day and took a photo of it and posted it on the I Love Ball Ground Facebook page that I'm a member of. And it was shocking the amount of comments I got. Well, it didn't really surprise me, but I will say, I think as of last night, there were maybe 184 comments on it in a very short period of time. And 2 individuals, I think, were for it, but everyone else was kind of the same opinion. Nothing against new businesses, nothing against, again, alcohol sales, but it's strictly the location and a density issue for me. So thank you for listening.
Okay, Brandy, thank you for your comments. Rachel Gage? Hey, okay, welcome, Rachel.
Ralph Disharoon with me as well. He also filled out a card, but thought it'd be more efficient if we came up together.
All right.
I was asked to be here this evening by a group of concerned citizens concerned about the alcohol license y'all just heard about. They call their group Let Ball Ground Be a Small Town, which I think really sums up what the concerns are here. Before I get into that, I should introduce myself. I apologize. I'm Rachel Gage. I am an attorney out of Atlanta. This is actually my first visit to Ball Ground. It's really beautiful. I had no idea, so I hope to come back soon. But like I said, the group of citizens asked me to be here this evening because there are about 300 people who have taken the time to sign a petition against the granting of the license. And so I'm representing a lot of the faces that you see here tonight and a lot that couldn't make it, but I think you have received a lot of the signatures here, and I have got the originals for you if you want them. But these are people who care about the character of the small town, who care about the entryway to the historic portion of the town. And then in particular, Ralph here lives right next to the site, the proposed site for the store. You may be aware that Ball Ground has an ordinance, it's number 4-53, that no alcohol license shall be issued to any location within a 150-foot radius of a property line of a private residence who objects to it. Ralph's property is adjacent to the site, and he's provided a letter. And he objects to the license, and he actually has 2 additional properties right down the road on the A.W. Roberts where his family members live, and they also are extremely concerned about how the granting of this license would directly affect their quality of life. Do you want to say anything about that, Ralph, while you're up here?
Yeah, it would just, it's a congested area right there anyway, with the traffic and everything, and I know this would just make it a lot worse, a lot of traffic, and there's already a lot, and this would just make it that much more. So that was one of my main concerns right there, so.
Yeah, and you'll notice, I know that you have the proposed site plan in your materials. There's a proposed driveway down A.W. Roberts, so it's not, there's a driveway off the highway, but there's also one. The historic sign is right here, as you all know. You basically turn around the sign, welcome to historic Ball Ground, to go into the store. It's not the right thing for the community. It's not the right face for the community to put out. And you as the council have discretion to deny the license. As you know, the citizens here, for good reason, have pride of place, especially with the historic downtown. And it's just, I believe, something, and the whole group, something that should be considered carefully, given where the proposed site is. Thank you.
Okay, Rachel, thank you. David, your turn now. David Boone.
Mr. Mayor, all I was doing was exercising my right to think about, talking about what I've been hearing. My question is, and I'm a little bit out of the loop, but who cleared the old building that was there at the location where they're talking about, the old gas station that was there? Who paid to clear that?
Empire Petroleum, Mountain Express Oil, the owner of the property.
And so the new owner did not pay for the demolition of that building? Because it was an eyesore. It was a huge eyesore there of the old station that was there.
Unless something has changed just recently, Mountain Express still owns the property,
Gotcha.
and they're the ones that cleared it.
Okay. I just wanted to say to everybody here about what that did look like. Is by it being cleared looks a lot better. And depending, in my opinion, on the architecture of the building, of what we're talking about, that's all I've got to say. I mean, from years ago to now, I'm a business owner myself, so I hate to get in the way of anybody wanting to run their business. But at the same time, I understand what the argument is. So I'm going to be right there in the middle. But I just wanted to point out where that property was and where it's headed.
Okay, David.
That's it.
All right, David, thank you. Okay, our last comment coming from Parks Huff.
This is an old school PowerPoint presentation. I don't think I can mess this one up, or hopefully not. Good evening. For the record, my name is Parks Huff with the law firm Sam's Larkin Huff, and I represent the applicant in regards to both the alcohol licenses that are before you. You've got an ordinance that details the requirements for an ordinance. I understand, I have not seen Ms. Gage's letter or position about her client's location of the property. I will note that there's quite a bit of commercial property, and one of the slides in here has the zonings around it. So even if there's a residence, if it's commercially zoned, that doesn't count. So I don't know whether that's one of her properties. As the gentleman says, the first slide shows the property as it sits now. The only thing left is a canopy. What had been an eyesore has been cleaned up and is going to be proposed to be redeveloped. The architecture, again, the gentleman who spoke mentioned the architecture. Look at the next slide that shows the brick architecture. This would be a professional commercial building that you would expect to see at a signalized intersection of a major road. That's what you would expect to have here. You actually wouldn't have your smaller shops. That's what you want downtown. This is the signalized intersection on a major road. This is where you're going to have this type of intensity businesses. The next slide shows the approved site plan that shows that the plan has been developed. Across the street, you've got an existing Chevron station that has beer and wine sales also. See the commercial zonings that are surrounding the property. And then the slide that I think is most interesting is this slide here. It's an older aerial that shows when both stations are here, and you can almost imagine what happened is the old station on our property got built. Then someone said, you know, this isn't serving the community very well. We need, as the community's growing, let's build a brand new station across the street. I'm sure the owners of my station property said, no, we don't want that nice new station across the street. Well, fast forward now, you've got someone else that coming forward said the community's growing, wants a modern convenience store with the convenience signs you have here, and so now you're having that proposed back in the original location. So this is exactly what you see in a thriving community. You see things redevelop and new things coming in and serving the community. You've got an application that has been reviewed by your staff. I think your staff is going to tell you that my client meets all the objective criteria in your ordinance. I've submitted a letter that says that you have to follow the objective criteria in your ordinance. It's not a popularity contest. I'm glad the first speaker mentioned Holly Springs and Canton. Both of them have ordinances that has a limitation on the number of package stores and have a location that package stores are different zones. You don't have that. If you had that, then you could rely upon that type of ordinance, but you don't have that. What you've got is it's allowed, and then the marketplace decides, you know, whether which one and how they thrive in providing new services to the area. So we'd ask that you follow your staff's review and that the property location is appropriate for this type of use and approve it. I did add one condition. I'd heard that one of the social media concerns had been that one of the renderings that had shown a vape shop in a small slot in the station. It's an allowed use, is my understanding, but we don't want to have that. So I've actually, in my letter that has been handed out to you, specifically said we would be glad to have an acceptance of the application for the alcohol licenses with an exclusion that no vape shop or specialty tobacco stores in that center. So that could be a condition that we would be agreeable to adding on to it. I certainly understand the community's concerns about that being shown up on, it was shown up on the rendering showing the building and how it would look and everything. And that's not a use that we would have there. And we agree to have that not as allowed. So if you approve the application, again, your staff is one that reviews it and confirms it complies with the city ordinances. If it complies with city ordinances, you have objective criteria you have to follow. It's the same thing if I came in for a building permit. You know, if I meet all the requirements for a building permit, you have to grant me the building permit. You can't say, well, kind of like you to move the house back or forward. If it's in the setbacks, I get to do where I want to put it as long as it meets the ordinances. So we ask that you approve these applications as submitted and reviewed and approved by your staff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Okay, that's all the comments concerning agenda items that we've received requests for. So at this time, we'll move on to announcements from Eric.
Yes, coming up, we have February 16th at 6:30 PM. Will be an open house and informational session at the Senior Center for residents to hear more from the folks at SunCap. They are the ones that are proposing the industrial warehouse distribution center on Ball Ground Highway near Sharp Mountain Creek. So they will be there. This is not a city meeting. This is a meeting for residents to hear directly from the proposed applicant. March 3rd will be our next work session, preceding the March 10th council meeting. And on March 12th will be our planning retreat, which will also be at the Senior Center, looking at starting at 8 a.m.
Okay, you want to mention Arbor Day?
Don't mention Arbor Day.
Well, I will now. We just got in Cherokee County, we've been a tree city longer than any other city. I think we're in our 32nd year, Karen, 32 years. And part of the Tree City requires us to actually officially celebrate Arbor Day. In Georgia, it's the third Friday in February. And so we do that, and we will be, this year, we do a tree planting that the tree board and anybody that wants to come, and we also give away some trees, small trees, usually just about 20 of them, but we don't give away saplings, we give away better ones, only one per person. But this year we're going to be doing it over at the Calvin Farmer Park, adjacent to the walking trail, the new walking circle. And so we're going to be doing a official city tree planting for Arbor Day. And this year we're going to put a ginkgo tree in there at the edge of the walk area. So 10 o'clock on Friday, the 18th. The 18th, is that? Okay. So everybody's invited if you want to come. It's usually either raining or cold. So maybe it won't be this time. But again, I'm very proud that we are, all the other cities in Cherokee County followed us in becoming tree cities. Okay, we did it first. I think in '89. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to mention that too.
What time was that?
It's 10 o'clock. Okay. Anything else? Okay, let's move now to item 6 on the agenda. We've got 4 sets of minutes to approve. Let's do them individually, if you would. The minutes of the work session on January 10th. Have you reviewed those? So may I have a motion to approve? Okay, motion Dennis. Second, Vicky. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, so work session minutes are approved. Now, the council meeting on the 13th of January, you received those minutes? I know some changes have been made, but the current ones, the updated ones, any other changes? Okay, motion to approve January 13 minutes?
Motion to approve.
Okay, Chris, Vicky, all in favor? Okay, sounds unanimous. I don't think we've ever turned down minutes in all these years. Next item is we had the public hearing prior to the council meeting on the 13th, and so we have a set of minutes from that public hearing. You have received those. Any comments? If not, motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Chris?
Second.
Dennis? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, nobody opposed. Good. And the last minutes to be approved would be the work session on January 31st.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Vicky?
Second.
Second. Chris? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think that's the most minutes we've ever approved at one meeting, but it's good to get it done. Do I have to sign those, Karen?
Yes, you need to do that. We need to have a sign.
All right. Okay, let's move on. We do not have old business now. The old business item has been removed from the agenda. So the first item in new business is to consider a resolution for a temporary moratorium on building permits and development permits from now through April 15th. Okay, this will give us, we're going to, at our planning retreat, we want to actually review kind of how the fees are compared to other entities and how much we're having to pay to do those particular the services like inspections and accounting. And so we want to just stop issuing those at this point. The resolution includes be effective until April 15th. Anything already underway can continue. And what's the third item that was on the? And then we at our planning retreat are going to review and come up with whatever we want to implement after April 15th. So a motion to approve.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I also wanted to let you know that I did submit the resolution to Karen.
Okay, good. Okay, so motion made, second?
Second.
Chris, any further discussion? You want to read it?
No, not me. I submitted it to Karen.
Okay. If you want to.
A resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Baldwin, Georgia, state of Georgia, to impose a temporary moratorium on the acceptance of building permits and land disturbance permits. Whereas the governing authority of the city of Ballground, hereinafter the city, is the mayor and city council thereof, and whereas the city is vested with substantial power to regulate the use of property for purposes of maintaining the health, morals, safety, security, peace, and general welfare of the city, and whereas the Constitution of the state of Georgia provides for the self-government of municipalities without the necessity of action by the General Assembly, and whereas Georgia law recognizes that local governments may impose moratorium on building permits and other development approvals where, I'm not good at some of this wording. Okay. I'll say circumstances warrant the same pursuant to the city of Roswell versus Outdoor Systems Incorporated. Whereas the Georgia Supreme Court in DeKalb County versus Townsend, 243, Georgia 80, 1979, held that to justify a moratorium, it must appear first that the interest of the public generally, as distinguished from those of a particular class, require such interference, and second, that the means are reasonably necessary for the accomplishment of the purpose and not unduly oppressive upon individuals, and whereas the city has found that the interests of the public necessitate the enactment of a moratorium for health, safety, morals, general welfare purposes by means which are reasonable and not unduly oppressive, and whereas the city, as part of its planning and growth management, finds an immediate need to review the building permit and land disturbance permit process and associate economic development plans and process within the city of Ball Ground. And whereas the city deems it necessary to develop the permitting process and review associated fees which intermit ongoing concerns associated with the same, and the city considers and approves this moratorium a proper exercise of the city's power under law, and whereas the city deems it necessary to enact this moratorium in order to address development in the city related to the overall economic plan for such development so as to study and ensure the permitting process and associated fees are aligned with the city's development goals. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council of the city of Ball Ground do hereby declare and adopt a moratorium on the acceptance of building permits and land disturbance permits for development projects within the city as follows. Number 1, no plans or applications for building permits or land disturbance permits shall be issued by the city for projects within the city from this date until April the 15th, 2022. Number 2, this moratorium shall not apply to any projects for which construction, grading, or soil and erosion control plans have been submitted to city staff for review and approval prior to February the 9th, 2022. Number 3, during this period of this moratorium, city staff, mayor, and city council will review permitting processes and fees and discuss effects of the same on current and future development consistent with the city's goals. Adopted this 10th day of February, 2022.
Thank you, Karen, for reading that. Our new council member is going to find out for resolutions. I just try to tell you what it covers, and from now on, we're going to let Karen read it because I don't like reading long attorney-written things that are hard to read. Thank you, though, Daryl, for putting that together. Okay, we've heard the resolution. Could I have a motion to approve? Vicki, you made that?
Yes.
Second, Chris? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so that's now in effect until April 15th, and we will be covering at the planning retreat coming up with the final new permitting requirements. At this time, I'm gonna bring something up before we move to the first reading of the alcohol ordinance item. We've heard tonight a reference to section 453 of the city code concerning alcohol, concerning residential within 150 feet. I am a property owner of residential property within 150 feet, so I'm going to recuse myself at this time from the meeting and from this particular discussion. So I'm actually going to be exiting the meeting because it's not proper for me to have comments on something that affects me personally. So I'm going to, at this time, ask that our pro tem Dennis Nelson take over the meeting, and good luck to you. Give me a couple of minutes to get out of here, okay?
He's gone. Okay, at this point, we're going to consider the first reading of requests for a new alcohol license for retail package sales of distilled spirits, malt beverages, and wine. The applicant is Siraj Ali Ball Package Store Incorporated, and the address is 3010 Canton Highway. Do we have any motion on this first reading?
I'd like to make a motion. Oh, go ahead.
We have a motion to deny. Do we have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Okay. Considering no discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor of the denial of the alcohol license, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No opposed? The license is denied. We'll move to consider the first reading of request for new alcohol license for retail package sales of malt beverages and wine. The applicant Siraj Lalani, MS Lanera Enterprise Incorporated Express Food Mart. The address also 3010 Canton Highway. This is this one building, that one side is the convenience store. That's what we're considering at this point. Do we have a motion on request for alcohol license for this location?
Second.
We have a motion to deny and a second. Any discussion? Okay, we have a motion to deny on the floor. All in favor of the denial, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? It's unanimous. It's denied. Okay, now we move into city manager comments.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Fund balances for the end of January. We closed the general fund with nearly $973,000 cash on hand. This is our typically our high balance for the year. We've just pretty much completed our annual property tax receipts. In SPLOST, we have $176,000. Fire, $388,000. Fire, again, is a pass-through. We collect that tax from our residents, and it's remitted in full to Cherokee County for fire services. Utilities, we closed January with $1,082,000 cash on hand. Our revenue and expenditures, the general fund revenue for the month was at $134,000 with expenditures of $82,000. Year to date, our revenue is nearly $1.2 million against $880,000 in expenditures. SPLOST revenues are artificially high for the month. Our normally SPLOST, our distribution usually comes in the first or second day of the month. This past month, we got them both in the same month, so that actually shows 2 months of distribution. Our expenses were at $42,000. Year to date, we're at $543,000 against expenses of $443,000. Utilities revenue for the month was $131,000. Expenses at $240,000. Year to date, our revenue is $1.4 million against expenses of $1.1 million. Staff continues to work now on our budget preparation. We've lost a couple of days. Estimated delivery now to the mayor is February 18th, with a delivery to council on March 4th. We're beginning to do some banking assessments. The Finance Committee will be doing some work on this along with Ms. England. What we found, and we always like to do business locally, but as Regions has become more and more of a distant bank, the fees that they have started assessing on commercial accounts just isn't anything we can continue to sustain. So we are beginning to shop other banks, both in Canton and Jasper, to find locations where we can put our funds and only keep our mandatory accounts at Regions. So the most recent example on that, the loan proceeds for the police station. When we get our monthly draw, we wanted to be able to just have them disperse the draw straight into the general fund where we could make the payment. Regions policies know we have to have a drawdown account for that only, so they'll disperse the funds into the drawdown account. But then that drawdown account that has no money in it that they make us open, they're going to charge us $129 a month management fee. So we're just really going to start shopping these accounts and bring that back to mayor and council for authorization to move money to other banks. The 2020 calendar of events shipped this morning, so we ought to have those by the middle of next week, and we'll be distributing those to downtown businesses, have on the website available up front, but the concert series in the parks will be back this summer, and some good activities planned for the year. Special local option sales tax, we have just started, and again, our splost and ball ground, we use those funds in parks, public safety, a small amount in water, sewer, and predominantly that's what we pave roadways with. Also, it buys the public safety vehicles, those types of things. We have approximately 2 years left on the special local option sales tax. It is going to be on the ballot in November for reconsideration. We have started conversations with the other cities and the counties on what the distribution will look like if the referendum is successful, and also what projects will be on the referendum. Police station, the groundbreaking was on the 31st. The footings are in. They were wrapping up the slab plumbing today. We should get that tested tomorrow. And they're scheduled to pour the footings and slab Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Traffic study. The data collection is pretty well done. They're now assessing data and going through. Again, that was 20 intersections. It includes 2 radar certifications to pick up additional streets for radar, and also does a special evaluation on the always stop request at Old Dawsonville Road and Gilmer Ferry. We expect a finished product to be delivered to us now within 4 weeks. Yes, ma'am.
Who was the person, what company is that did this?
A&R Engineering.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Old Dawsonville Road, the design work has begun. Landmarks is doing the design work for the widening and improvement from Preston Manor back to the city. We should have a set of plans to look at within the next 3 to 4 weeks. Tentatively, we're trying to target construction time on our line for the May-June time period. And we've already had the first couple meetings on site with Georgia Power on the relocation of their utilities because they have the power poles so close at the edge of Old Dawsonville where we'll be widening. On the GDOT project, the one in the vicinity of 420 Gilmer Ferry, when they dug in, it was supposed to be a storm drain replacement project, and they found out there was no storm drain. The storm drain that was there from years ago is completely disintegrated. The water is just running through old marble sprawl and whatnot, so this project got complicated real quick. So hopefully we're getting back on top of it. The GDOT design for Lantern Walk, we distributed that through the Lantern Walk HOA for comments. We've received comments back through them from a good number of residents. We'll be disseminating those to mayor and council for you to look at. This is also something that A&R Engineering is looking at for us in this process to see what they can do in their assessments and working with GDOT to get a crosswalk at Lantern Walk Drive, not south of it. The turn lane expansion at State Route 3, that's backwards, 372 and State Route Business 5 at the traffic light went out to bid. Bartow Paving won the bid on that, and the contract is circulating GDOT for signatures, and so we should see work there before too long. It's been awarded. Pedestrian projects, the RFP has been issued by Cherokee County for sidewalk, curb gutter, and sidewalk design along the west side of Old Dawsonville. So they were out for gathered a lot of information, but now the RFP has been issued and the company selected. I'm not sure who they selected, but they've selected a company for that design. On our business activities that cover water, sewer, storm, and solid waste, the well pump repairs, this has been a process. You've all had the updates on this. It's working. We are back in business. But just a little bit on the deal there, you see how the top comes off of the well house on the left, and they're dropping in the new pieces. There's 10 sections of that pump sits about 200 feet in the ground. So that's 3-inch stainless steel pipe that they're assembling and working with, getting in through there. The picture on the right, there's two of our folks there that are, that's actually the pump right below their hands, getting ready to drop that first leg into the well. This is the pump that was removed, and we're estimating that little pump right there over the last 13 years has produced just over 1 billion gallons of water for the city of Ball Ground. So it's a small
Rest in
piece
peace.
of equipment doing a big job. But just an idea, these things get complicated, but it amazes me the size of the wrench. You see Mr. Ingram holding that picture on the left-hand side, and the broken one on the right. And that's how tight all this stuff was together. By the time they finished working with this, it was a nightmare. So our hats off. If you see our public works guys, they have been kicking it for the last 30 days or so trying to get this well back in operation, and it's been a nightmare, and they've been successful. So hats off to them. Water sewer recap, we have a $1.2 million grant pending with the state of Georgia for the force main upgrade. The Sage Hill lift station, the pumps now, they're telling us, are still 6 weeks out. So they've been 6 weeks out for the last 9 weeks. So just trouble building pumps. The Cherokee Water and Sewer Authority approved the city's request to purchase an additional 30,000 gallons per day of water and an additional 30,000 gallons per day of sewage capacity. In water, that gives us a buffer right now of about 120 to 130,000 gallons a day, so we should not have any issues with peak demands. We're also in the process right now of testing a mini excavator. One of the things we're trying to do for Public Works that's in the budget this year is to buy an enclosed cab Kubota excavator. Our guys now, if you see them out on a rainy night or a cold night, they're driving a backhoe 2 or 3 miles to a water leak to fix it. So we're trying to get something that they can have on a trailer, pull to the location, and have a protected cab to work inside of. We're also working with Turnip Seed Engineers, the city engineer, and starting the preliminary work for the design of a 250,000-gallon water tank at our existing Public Works facility on Cartersville Street. Solid waste, we've received a notice 2 weeks ago from Waste Management. They will be increasing prices $1.80. So a new fee schedule will be coming to Mayor and Council for consideration. They are implementing that increase in March, and we will have something for Mayor and Council to look at in April. Planning and zoning. Processing of the rezoning application for SunCap. I think everybody's pretty familiar with that. And we said earlier on the 16th, there'll be the open house at the senior center for our residents to get more information on that. Zoning cases, if you remember a couple months ago, Mr. Luley did a presentation on annexations on the GIS map. The zoning cases are now uploaded on that also. So for members of council or the community that want to go to the city map on the website, they'll have access to the old documents from zoning cases as well as the annexation cases now. Also on the city map, on the menu on the right-hand side, if you go all the way to the bottom, the last item in the menu at the bottom now is high resolution of the downtown. If you click on that, you'll actually have aerial imagery high-definition close-up of the core downtown area. It'll start helping with the traffic study, but also for parking improvements and other planning that's going on now. Public safety, 550 calls for service last month with 26 citations. Recruiting efforts are now showing some promise. We think we're very close to being able to add a couple folks, so fingers crossed. And each of you in your packet has a written report from the Chief of Police. On Parks and Recreation, we would ask Mayor and Council to consider this evening. We have completed the paperwork for a Parks and Recreation grant through the National Park Service. We're asking for a resolution of support this evening from the council. There is no cost to the city. This goes through the National Park Service, and if awarded, they will send a planning team here. If you see on the map right now, the areas in green are the various park properties that the city owns. There's also other amenities in the area, such as what the Board of Education has, areas around the library, but this team would come in and help assess what we currently have, hold public meetings and stakeholder meetings to determine the new amenities that people would like to see in the parks, help us with a plan to connect all of our city facilities with our largest residential areas. And once we have that plan, if Mayor and Council adopt it, that would give us something for a lot of strength in grant writing with the National Park Service moving forward. If we're wanting a grant to purchase more property or to put in amenities and it's something that's identified in their plan, it'd give us a lot more grounds to receive those grant dollars.
Do you need a motion for this resolution?
Yes, ma'am. I would ask for a motion to adopt the resolution acknowledging the City of Ball Ground's commitment to a National Park Service Conservation and Outdoor Recreation Community Assistance Grant.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Benefield and Councilman Prettyman. A second. We'll take a vote now. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimous.
And after that, we just say Ball Ground rocks. That's good.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor Roberts is not here, obviously, to give his comments, so I'll take his slot. You know, Dawn and I moved here several years ago, and when you look at what all this city does, and you just saw it right here, with so few people that wear many, many hats, it's very, very impressive. And I know we're proud to be residents of Ball Ground, and I know you guys worked extremely hard on the well, and we had a lot of issues, and we had some weather issues, and the wrong pump, but you kept at it. And we're back on board now, and that's very impressive. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, and I just say we're blessed. We have a staff and a team in every department that just gives the city everything, and I can't be thankful enough for them.
It amazes me from what our police department does, Public Works, Donna, and your continuous glowing financial reports, and Karen keeping us completely in check with everything we need, because we're all new here, at least the three of us on this end, so we're relying heavily on what city staff does for us, and thank you very much. Council comments. Councilman Prettyman?
I think I'm good.
Councilwoman Rogers?
Like you said, hats off to getting that well finally up and running. That was a lot of stuff you kept us updated on. A lot of stuff I didn't understand, but I've learned, so.
I've learned a lot too. Every day there was an update, multiple updates.
Done a great job with the audit and everything. Super.
Councilwoman Benefield.
I'd like to thank our citizens for showing up tonight. It tells me that you're concerned about your community and our city, same as I am, so I want to applaud you all too for showing up.
And item 12 was moved up, so That's off of the agenda. It was moved up to the beginning. Do we have a need to go into executive session?
No, sir.
Great. Okay, at this point, we'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Okay, Councilman Prettyman, and second was?
Me.
Okay, I heard stereo. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We're done. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank